It's going to be a scoring fest between Alabama and Kentucky, and several rivalry games are in store this weekend as Georgia faces Auburn, Vanderbilt plays Tennessee, and Mississippi State takes on Ole Miss. Plus, Kentucky got a huge top 25 win in Rupp Arena on Tuesday night, and upsets were in full swing this week as Missouri knocks off Florida and Ole Miss takes down Alabama in Coleman. We're recapping the action in the rebound. All that and more today on the Hoops Southbound Show. Hey guys, it's just me today. Maddie is out sick and is currently taking the holy trinity of Dayquil, cough drops, and herbal tea right now. So hope she gets better soon. But until she gets better, I'll be soloing the show for a little while. So let's get into it and jump into all the action from this week in the rebound. It was an exciting night in Rupp Arena with another top 25 matchup on hand. Kentucky takes the win over A&M 81-69. Now, we talked about this in the last episode that all Kentucky really needed to do to get this win was to perform to their averages. Texas A&M's offense wouldn't be able to keep up with Kentucky, especially without Wade Taylor playing. Right out of the second half, Kentucky took over this game and put up those numbers we wanted to see from them. However, it wasn't just Kentucky's performance on the offensive end that led them to control this game in the second half. Instead, Kentucky had a sensational performance on the offensive glass. Yeah, Kentucky out-rebounded the best rebounding team in the SEC, and they were able to take over this game by doing so. This is now 2 games in a row that Kentucky has out-rebounded teams that are very good on the glass. This is a significant turning point for Kentucky as a team this season. Not only is the offense getting those second chance points, which makes them more lethal on the offensive end, but they're terminating more possessions now. You can see the boost in KenPom numbers over the last few games in their defensive efficiency. Long way to go to fit that national championship trend, but an extremely positive step toward Kentucky's goals. Jackson Robinson also had a big game and another big night in this one. The former Big 12 Sixth Man of the Year had 34 minutes and ended up putting up 22 points and hit 5 threes, going over 34% from deep in this game. Jackson Robinson has been outstanding the last few games. Very good win for Kentucky in a night that Kentucky fans should be feeling a ton of optimism about, feeling this team as they're heading forward. For Texas A&M, they'll bounce back, but really need Wade Taylor back. Zurich Phelps was good again in this game, putting up some big numbers. But Texas A&M has got a good chance at home to get a bounce back win. For Kentucky, though, this is a massive win and continues that trend for Mark Pope getting those big W's right now for Big Blue Nation. Well, we told you there was a real chance that Missouri could upset Florida this week, and boy, did that come true in Gainesville. Missouri got out ahead and held on to the lead from wire to wire, and they needed every single point they put up as they get the win 83-82 over Florida. Missouri had an excellent shooting performance and put up numbers similar to Kentucky from when they faced Florida, or from around the three-point arch. They weren't as efficient, but Missouri knocked down double-digit threes and hit as many free throws as Kentucky did as well, upping that efficiency even more. Caleb Grill was sensational. Glad to see he is back from injury that he had from that Lindenwood game. He was showing out in this one, putting up a grand total of 22 points, hitting 6 threes. He also put up on the defensive end, grabbing 3 steals in the 30 minutes that he played. Big night for Caleb Grill. For Florida, there's a real curiosity as to why they're having a problem defending high-performance offenses that are efficient scoring, and Missouri is definitely one of those when you look at their points per shot. They have the personnel to match up, but now for 2 games against Missouri and Kentucky, they've allowed these teams to put up numbers at a rate that is hard to compete with for any offense and requires offenses scoring something like 85 plus points. They have to be better on the defensive end against teams like this. It is a concern. For Missouri, huge win. Another big win. They've got now the wins against Kansas and Florida to put on their resume. Missouri's looking pretty darn good as far as an NCAA tournament team and is starting to lock themselves in. They've got a game against Arkansas this weekend at home, We'll see how they fare in that one, but the momentum is certainly going very well for the Tigers. Well, it was a shocking upset for Alabama at home against Ole Miss. If you want to see where the difference was in this game, look at the turnovers. Ole Miss was +9 in points off turnovers, and it also didn't help Alabama getting beat on the offensive glass. Malik Dia, man, this kid can play some basketball. This is a few times we've now seen this in conference play. He had a huge night with another double-double, and not just any kind of double-double. I mean, it was ferocious on the glass. Dia putting up 23 points and 19 rebounds in the 31 minutes he played. It seemed like every time you were looking up at the TV in this game, Malik Dia was doing something for Ole Miss. This is the first ever top five win for Ole Miss on the road in school history. We wanted to know where Ole Miss ranked among the best in the conference, and they gave us a resounding resume point to take a look at. Chris Beard has a legit SEC threat on his hands, and Ole Miss might be on the verge of a historic season for their school. This might be the point right here, the pinnacle, the best that Ole Miss has ever been so far. They're looking at right now the possibility of locking in a top 20, maybe even top 16 seed in the NCAA tournament if they keep playing like this and keep getting big wins. This team may be able to finish top 5, top 4 in the SEC standings this year if they're able to put together big wins like this against good teams on the road. For Alabama, they had a tough test on the road. They have a tough test on the road this week to try to bounce back. But if their goal is to get an SEC title, you can't let one loss turn into two losses, as you've heard it said a couple of times on ESPN this season, even when you're going in to Rupp Arena. It was a big night. It was a big night over the week. And here are your other scores from around the SEC. Auburn gets a massive W in Neville Arena on Tuesday night as they beat Mississippi State 88-66. An impressive win for Auburn without Janai Broome. Chad Baker-Mazar went absolutely nuts in this game, putting up 20 points in 24 minutes and also getting 2 blocks and going +13 in the game. It was a big night for him. Additionally, on Tuesday night, Arkansas took a pretty hard loss, dang near close to threatening for the season to be over, pending a big run for the Razorbacks as they fall 78-74 against LSU. A lot of concerns right now for Arkansas, but for LSU, they get their first win of SEC play thus far this season. And then on Wednesday night, Texas knocks off Oklahoma on the road 77-73. A big win for the Longhorns as they get their first SEC win. Jordan Pope going off for 27 points, Tremont Mark 15, and then of course Trey Johnson just keeps on scoring and puts up 16 points himself. Additionally, Tennessee takes down Georgia at home 74-56. Tennessee bouncing back and getting the job done, picking up that momentum after that Florida loss and picking up wins along the way in their pursuit of hopefully grabbing another SEC title. And then South Carolina comes close again, but is unable to beat Vanderbilt as Vanderbilt beats South Carolina 66-63. Here are your updated SEC standings. Sitting at the top of the conference undefeated are the Auburn Tigers and Ole Miss. Teams at 3-1 right now: Missouri, Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, all at 3-1. 2-2 right now: Vanderbilt, Georgia, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Florida. Teams finally getting that first win include LSU, and Texas is there at 1-3. And then we got 3 teams still looking for their first win in the SEC, and that's South Carolina, Oklahoma, and, very surprising, Arkansas. Let's turn to the games this week. It is a top 10 matchup in Rupp Arena as Alabama will take on the Kentucky Wildcats. The Tide are looking to bounce back after a tough loss at home against a red-hot Kentucky team. Best of luck to them. One thing I promise you this game is going to have is scoring, and a lot of them at that. Both these teams have high-octane offenses that are designed to put up a ton of possessions and a ton of points. Both offenses are going to have guys who are going to be looking to light up the scoreboard from deep as well. Kentucky, you're talking about Kobe Brea, Jackson Robinson, who we've been talking about the last couple of episodes, it seems like, and Lamont Butler has also been very good from 3. But make no mistake, It could be any player on any night in this system who can go for crazy, especially behind that 3-point line in Mark Pope's system. So be on the lookout for a lot of these good shooters. Maybe it's Otego Away's night to go crazy from three. We'll see. We'll see who gets it going. For Alabama, Filan, Sears, and the return of Chris Youngblood are going to be the players to watch from deep for the Tide. Who plays better perimeter defense and slows the three ball down will have a serious chance to win this game. And that's also something to note. It's worth noting that Alabama has not shot the ball as well from deep this season as they did last year. It's a growing piece of concern right now for the Tide that me and Maddie have been pointing out for a while. Right now, the Tide are the second. They've got the second most 3-point field goals made per game at 10 a game, but they're only hitting at 32%, and that's taking a hit right now in their points per shot and their points per possession, putting them somewhere right in the middle of the SEC. This team, if they could just get a little bit better, just a little bit better from three, this team becomes much more threatening overall. But neither team with Kentucky or Alabama have been, regarded as one of the best defenses in the SEC by any means. But there is nuance here. Kentucky showed a lot of promise on the defensive glass and the offensive glass in that game against Texas A&M and Mississippi State, terminating those possessions. If they could turn it up just a little bit more and continue to improve as a defense, it will look really good for Kentucky overall and their optimism and the direction they're heading. This is a good chance to do that, and they are starting to move in that favorable direction. But for Alabama, they're certainly much better on defense than they were the previous years. The adjustments that have been made have got them close, not quite there, but close to that top 40 range that you're wanting to see. It would not be a shock for me to see this game go somewhere in the 90s, even the hundreds on Saturday. KenPom has this game sitting at 90 to 89 at 55% going to Kentucky. This one's going to be nuts. You guys are going to be surprised. I'm not doing picks this week without Maddie here. Not my taste, but maybe I might be leaning toward Kentucky. We'll just say that. It's the Deep South's oldest rivalry, only this time it's on the basketball court as Auburn takes on Georgia in the Stag. This is a game between a veteran squad and a young and talented team. Bruce Pearl hasn't given an update whether Player of the Year candidate Jedi Broome will play or not on Saturday. Pearl said that Broome would not be practicing on Thursday, however. If Auburn is without Jedi Broome, they'll be looking to replicate the success their front court had against Mississippi State without him. But the player who stepped up big time on Tuesday night was Chad Baker-Mazara. With Georgia not being as strong as some other teams in the SEC at that number 3 spot, this could be another big night for CBM. But the rest of the front court certainly has a challenge on their hands. Georgia features a strong defensive front court with future NBA players on this team. We're talking guys like Santos Sorrell and future likely lottery pick Asa Newell. Very good. And then RJ Godfrey is also someone to keep an eye on. It'll be an NBA level 5-star talent up against a veteran experience squad in Auburn in this one. Who breaks through, who breaks in and wins this battle can be big in this one. But where I think Auburn has a distinct advantage in this game is going to be in the backcourt. Georgia is very young in the backcourt with Silas DeMurray, Blue Kane, and Deshane Montgomery. While good on defense, the Bulldogs' backcourt doesn't have the scoring potential the guards for Auburn have. Tahad Pettiford, CBM, who's, like I said, a hybrid player, really. Miles Kelly and Denver Jones are all capable of putting up a good amount of points. If Georgia wants to win, they'll need to shut down Auburn's offense from around the arch and not let guys like Pettiford get to the paint and go downhill where they could cause some real damage. This Auburn team is shooting very well from three and national championship level, I might mind you on that one. KenPom has this game between the Tigers and the Bulldogs going 79 to 69 at 81% going to Auburn. It's a rivalry game on Saturday between Vanderbilt and Tennessee and Memorial. Vanderbilt has been promising this year, but they're put up against another team that has a reserve of firepower and defense that is going to be hard to match up with. Vanderbilt has been towards the bottom of the conference on defense while having a strong offense that really likes to get out and run. But Tennessee has a lot of tools necessary to overwhelm the Commodores and prevent that. Guys like Meshack and Ziegler have been very good on defense in the backcourt and could cause some real problems for Vanderbilt's primary scoring and offensive contributors like Jason Edwards and AJ Hogard. Then in the front court, Vanderbilt may not have the size they need to fight on the glass against Tennessee. Vols have been solid on the glass this season overall, and physical bigs like Felix Akpara present matchup problems for Vanderbilt, especially when it comes to their size. This is going to be a whole different test for Vanderbilt coming into this one. Vanderbilt's best path to a huge upset would more than likely be to knock down shots at an efficient rate and with a heavy amount of ball movement and trying to beat Tennessee in transition. However, Tennessee also has some things going really heavily in their favor. You have scoring threats that are hard to deal with, like Chaz Lanier, who Rick Barnes sets up pretty well in a lot of different offensive schemes and is a quick shooter on a catch and release. Very difficult to deal with. And then someone with the stretch ability is big man Igor Milicic, who doesn't present, who presents some pretty difficult defending options for Vanderbilt on how do you guard him and not allow him to heat up from three and cause problems as well. KenPom has this game going to Tennessee, obviously, 74-67 at 74%. Mind you, that's on the road in this one. Well, somebody has to win this game between South Carolina and Oklahoma. Both teams are winless thus far in the SEC. Gamecocks came very close to a W in their last two games against Auburn and Vanderbilt. However, both times came up a little short. This game is about offense up against defense. Oklahoma is more than capable of putting up points, but is truly struggling on the defensive end of this season. They are the worst rated defense in the SEC, according to KenPom. Meanwhile, Paris has a defensively stronger team than someone on the Gamecocks' own offensive end. This matchup between Colin Murray Boyles and Northweather and Godwin will be the battle to watch in this one. If South Carolina can control the tempo and get some good one-on-one matchups between the two, this seems like the path for Carolina to get their first win of the year in the SEC. Now, flip that. For Oklahoma, the best path for them will be place an emphasis on that three ball. Not 50-50 necessarily, but South Carolina's defense is 12th in the SEC when it comes to opponents' three-point percentage. Meanwhile, the Sooners are the fourth best three-point shooting team in the conference. Bryson Gooden, Duke Miles, Kobe Elvis are going to be the players to watch from deep here for the Sooners. As they go, the Sooners may go. Of course, you've also got to keep an eye out for Jalen Moore and Jeremiah Fears, who are capable of putting up points in a hurry for the Sooners. It's going to be a matter of how much South Carolina can stop Oklahoma's offense and get themselves in positions that they like to put up points. There's a surrounding cast also in Oklahoma, which has a big contribution in this game. There are players at times stepping up for South Carolina, like Jamari Thomas and a few others, but overall, there is a much larger cast of guys who can contribute at a high level for Oklahoma. And KenPom definitely likes the way I'm thinking here. KenPom has this game 75-67 at 74% going to Oklahoma. Now, speaking of that team that Oklahoma lost to, Texas is coming off their first win in the SEC after knocking off their rival. However, a winning streak might be put on pause as Florida is looking to bounce back after being upset against Missouri. We've talked about the worries for Texas on the glass this season, but overall, Rodney Terry has been trying to overcome his front court depth issues with extended playing time for his future big men like Arthur Kaluma and Shedrick. Florida is dominating the glass, though, with a very physical and deep rotation in their front court. The Gators are highly physical and are good rebounders. Alex Condon, Sam Alexis, Chinyelu. You've got a list of guys to go down the list. Or heck, you can just keep going down. Florida has the best rebound differential in the SEC this season. They are more than capable of winning the glass in any game. Where this game gets interesting, though, is what Florida has struggled with thus far this season, opponents' three-point shooting. This is kind of an episode about threes, folks. We've seen them have problems stopping Kentucky and Missouri from hitting from deep, allowing those teams to hit double digits from three. The Gators are allowing the fourth highest amount of three-point field goals made in the conference. And that's exactly what Texas does well. The backcourt for Texas are hitting over 8 threes a night and shoot the best three-point percentage in the conference. Trey Johnson has been nothing but sensational this season, and he's now being accompanied by guys like Jordan Pope, who's coming off a very good game against Oklahoma, and Tremont Mark, and nailing down those long range shots. Florida is going to have to depend on their own 3-point shooting to keep them in the race for points per possession in this one. And Elijah Martin and the rest of the backcourt will need to lock down the perimeter to stop Texas from going on some kind of run in this. Texas's efficiency has been pretty good on the offensive end. Coleman is also capable of just stepping out and hitting a few threes, as we saw him do against Auburn. Picking the right matchup for him will be crucial for the Gators. Alex Condon might be the player to watch in the defensive matchup against Arthur Kaluma and how well he defends there. Texas's defense would be a concern, ranging toward the bottom of the SEC. However, other defenses with similar efficiencies have managed to turn this into a scoring race or game of runs against the Gators. Yes, I'm still talking about Kentucky and Missouri, who tend to range toward the bottom of the SEC in defensive efficiency. The catalyst point for the Gators all comes down to limiting Texas points per possession and not letting them hit effectively from deep like they're capable of doing. This is a centerpiece of concern right now for Florida and an area that they have to improve in. They need to play more like what they did against Tennessee and in order to prevent another upset from happening in this one. Yeah, no, Florida is on back-to-back upset alerts. However, this is a bounce-back situation for the Gators and one that they're probably not too happy about what just happened there in their own house. So they've got a chance here to right some wrongs. We'll see how it goes for the Gators in this one. But Kim Palm has this game going to Florida 82-71 at 84%. There's nothing left to say about Arkansas really this season. The Razorbacks are in desperate need of a win to keep their season alive. That's it. And they're going to have to hope that this team comes together while Missouri hopefully has a big game hangover at home. It's no secret that Arkansas has a massive problem on their hands. Once again, against LSU, the Razorbacks played well in the first half and let the game get completely out of hand in the second. It's been the story for them through the first 4 games of conference play. Arkansas is in horrible shape and are playing in no way like a team of its talent level. Dysfunction offensively is plaguing this team from being able to end routes and stop runs. Janelle Davis and Jonas Adu have to become bigger parts of the game plan. We've seen Adu start to turn a corner. He put up a double-double against LSU. However, the chief concern is outside of Boogie Flan and Adu Thero, where does Arkansas's offense come from? And how does it truly operate? Against LSU, Janelle Davis hit 2 threes and had 10 points in the first half, but went completely missing in the second half. Carter Knox, Zvonimir Izovic have been highly inconsistent. Billy Richmond provides a spark of energy, but isn't playing all that well on the offensive end. The offense is inefficient overall, and it's capping Arkansas this season. The defense has actually been good. I know that's going to shock a lot of Razorback fans, but the defense has been good. It has been the offensive end that has been a nightmare. Arkansas not being able to capitalize off their stops or turnovers that they get are just not helping this team. They have been, if you looked at the first few minutes against LSU, Arkansas, if they were hitting anything, like they should have been there in the first few minutes against LSU at an effective rate from layups even, should have been up 8-0 in your first few minutes against LSU. They were incapable of doing so. And they're going up against a Missouri team that has one of the most efficient offenses in the SEC. Missouri leads the conference in points per shot and ranks in the top 25 offenses in the country on KenPom. The Tigers are also much more experienced than Arkansas, with tons of veteran leadership from Tony Perkins, Tamar Bates, and Caleb Grill. There's plenty of more guys that are upperclassmen making an impact as well for this Missouri team. We can go down Josh Gray. We can keep going down the list. Warwick, who do you want to talk about? There's experience on this Tigers team, and they're playing at home against a team that their fans are going to be very, very excited to play and beat, is how it's going to go down. The Tigers are also more proficient from deep and might be capable of putting together several threes in succession if Arkansas's defense doesn't perform perform as well as it can. Right now, the Razorbacks are kind of right in the middle of the pack when it comes to their 3-point defense in the SEC, especially when it comes to percentage and three-point field goals made allowed. Those are concerns as Missouri is more than capable of hitting those threes, and this Missouri team is playing together, unlike Arkansas. They move the ball very well, finding the shots that they need to get to hit those threes and getting a good opportunity. A good night from three could almost assure a Missouri win the way that Arkansas is playing right now. Look for guys like Tamar Bates, Caleb Grill to be focal points in the game plan. Essentially, that's going to be the key area in this game. The front court is going to be a battle. It'll be interesting, though, how Arkansas's depth in the front court really matches. I have no concerns about a Duthero being very good at the number 4 spot, but you can't have a game where Jonas Adu goes MIA in order to take advantage in the front court in this one. Missouri's gotten a lot better in the front court this season with the recruits and the transfers they've brought in. This team's much improved in that area versus teams in years past. That's an area that Arkansas also needs to play better in, but does have the talent at least to match up there. So defense and offensive efficiency. Offensive efficiency is the key area for Arkansas. Hitting those threes and taking a few stops away from the Razorbacks, that's really the key areas for concern for Missouri, which right now, Missouri looks like they're more than capable of hitting those areas. Right now, KenPom has this game going to Missouri 77-72 at 69% for a home win for the Tigers. The Egg Bowl of basketball? Well, I guess that's what we'll call it as Mississippi State and Ole Miss square off in what might be the most anticipated game all time in this rivalry. These two teams that might hate each other, but they're more similar than you might think. Both Ole Miss and Mississippi State are good on defense, and both thrive on turning the other team over. Plus, neither team really turns the ball over all that much. Josh Hubbard has a jaw-dropping assist-to-turnover ratio that ranks among the nation's elite right now. And both teams bring a ton of experience to the table with plenty of upperclassmen on these rosters, knowing how to win big games. What might draw these two teams apart are the two areas. There's an area for each team. For Ole Miss, it feels like the 3 ball. Yep, we're still talking about the 3. Ole Miss is part of that group right now. It's no exception when it comes to hitting 3. Sean Padula, Matthew Morrell, and Jalen Murray can hit from deep. And Ole Miss has been very good from outside efficiency-wise. They're not the highest volume shooting team, but they are better than most teams when it comes to their percentage and knocking down those open looks when they get them. Where this game may favor State more is in the front court. There's several contributors who can make a splash for the Bulldogs, but I'm looking for Cam Matthews here, really, and his physicality and versatility to possibly push State forward towards a win. If Matthews has a game like he did against Kentucky, Dia and Brakefield are going to have their work cut out for them on the defensive end. But speaking of Malik Dia, he has been incredibly hot over the last few games. Locking out Dia will be a crucial spot for Mississippi State's success. KenPom has this game 75-72 at 62% going to Mississippi State in the first round of this rivalry. Finally, Texas A&M needs to get back to winning. It's go time for the Aggies back at home in Rita against LSU. Tigers are coming off a win, of course, against Arkansas at home this week. Both these teams have some questions in the injury front. Will Wade Taylor be back, or will Victorious Miller be back for LSU? Both players have been big for both teams, but Wade Taylor is certainly the exception. He has not played since that Texas game on opening night, and he's been the missing element that the Aggies have needed over the last 2 games against Alabama and Kentucky. Just needing that little extra offensive spark and someone who can go out and get you a bucket. Texas A&M really struggles shooting, folks. This is a team that really has those issues. Missing Wade Taylor has been crucial. Now, Zerk Phelps has stepped up and has played very well over the last few games. Where also Texas A&M can make a difference in this game to overcome their own shooting woes is on the defensive end. LSU has been a team that struggles to not turn over the basketball, and the Aggies' defense is more than capable of taking advantage at home. The Aggies are averaging more than 8 steals a night right now. Then part 2 is the calling card of A&M. They have to rebound and rebound better than what they did against Kentucky. This is still the best rebounding team in the SEC. They're second in differential, leading overall offensive rebounds, and are pretty okay on the defensive rebounding glass. They do well, very well on rebounding as a collective, with several players making big contributions. Farrell Payne, Henry Coleman, several guys up there grabbing boards. This is a game where Farrell Payne can have a big night, but also look for Anderson Garcia to also collect a few boards as well. To me, that's going to be a huge area of this game, as LSU doesn't necessarily have the size. Now, we saw a lot more minutes for Derek Fountain in that Arkansas game trying to match the size in this one, but we're going to have to see who they run out there to try to collect a few boards. Kim Baum has this game 77-65 at 85%, going to the Aggies. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I know it's kind of weird having a show where I'm just soloing this back and forth. Normally, when I do a solo show, it's for like a scouting film or, doing one of those player profiles I normally do. We're talking about transfer portal stuff and evaluating classes and things like that. But, got to do a show every now and then, I guess. Hopefully, Maddie will be back on Sunday when we do the show. Hope she gets well very, very soon. But, guys, thank you so much for checking out the show today and just hanging out with me and listening to me talk a little bit about what I think about some of these games and what the projections kind of sit at right now. We'll be back to picking games as soon as Maddie gets back, and we'll be talking and putting, everything up on the line. I'll just say that my midweek was probably my worst pick so far this week, or this conference run so far. I was doing pretty darn well until this midweek here, going against Texas, and I think I had three losses. This is my first three lost week. It's been one game each series so far. So guys, if you don't mind, please like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you think about what's coming up. But it's going to be a fun weekend of basketball. Again, hope Maddie gets well soon, and we'll see you guys on Sunday.